Cool. Hello. How's it going? I see some new faces. Yes? Who's new today, to this day? Good. I just want to see you guys so I know John's new back there. So welcome to day 2 of Beginning Razor. This class, again, is designed to make you feel better about this maybe foreign tool to you, or even make the tool that you are kind of familiar with a little bit more comfortable for you to use and navigate, and also be able to do entire haircuts with just your razor. So we're trying to teach you different ways to cut a line. Is it a strong line? Is it a serrated line? What kind of layers, how many layers, suitability, all of those things. So how do you guys feel about yesterday, those of you that took hands-on? Thumbs up. Did anyone feel challenged? Yeah, absolutely. Good. That's what we're here for, is to sort of push you a little beyond your comfort. Does anyone want to talk a little bit about their takeaways? Anyone? One takeaway?
One of the takeaways I learned was establishing the perimeter first around the face and then working in towards the back. I usually start at the back and then towards the front. So it's a good one.
And we're going to recap sort of yesterday. Is that okay if I recap yesterday, you guys back there? Okay, yeah. Cool. Anyone else want to share? Yes.
I think for me, the bang trick you taught, I think that's going to really change things for me.
What was the bang?
So the bang trick was you let it set where you want it, and then you brought it down and straightened it and tight. The measuring trick, yes.
So the measuring trick, just to go over that again, is where you can give people bangs and they look okay when they don't style them, right? So when they have their cowlicks and their jumps and their waves and all of that, it works with that. And then when they style it, it looks even better, right? Cool. So I'd love one more or two more takeaways. Anyone from who did hands-on? Yes.
Hand positioning when doing the layers, how you hold the razor, kind of changed it for me.
So the upward stroke. How many of you were like, what? Yeah. Cool. So it takes a while to get used to it. But I think the most important thing is your form, right? So it's those 3 things that I taught you guys on how to get a clean line. What are those 3 things?
Oh, tension.
All right.
Oh, God. Now I'm panicked.
No worries. Anyone have it? Yes.
Hold it at a 45-degree angle, right?
Good. And then there's one more. Does anyone remember? Edge. That's the edge, right? Holding it at a 45-degree angle is cutting on the edge. How do you place your razor in relation to the hair? Yes, so perpendicular, creating a 90-degree angle, and you're going to get, and so that's what I want you guys to think about first before you go cut hair, right? And then I want you to think about it second when you feel like it's not cutting. When you're cutting it and you're like, oh, that feels really wrong. Don't keep going, right? Stop and check those 3 things. Do you have tight tension? Is your blade perpendicular? And is your blade at a 45-degree angle?
If you kept going, would that shred the hair and give you like a split end rather than a clean cut?
So the question was, if you kept going, would it jack up the hair? Yeah, it will. Let's not jack up the hair. Cool. And so today we have, again, same kind of day where we're going to start with demos. We'll start with the film. Nicholas and Kate are mostly going to do today. I'm just going to take questions. Are you guys excited about seeing Nicholas and Kate do their magic? Me too. I'm so excited. We have a bob and a long layer again. We are going to add a couple of new things to today that we did yesterday, but because it's the beginning class, we really want to focus on not teaching you a bunch of new tricks. We want to focus more on making you really understand using the razor and also feeling how it feels when you're cutting on the edge. How many of you felt that yesterday, cutting on the edge, where it was like, whoa, that feels way different? Remember? So we had a moment together where I was like, angle it, angle it, angle it. And as soon as she angled it at the right angle, that cut was so clean, that hair looked so good. And it felt good, right? So that's really a lot of the focus today. And we have, again, lunch is going to be a working lunch. The bathroom's over there for the new people. Make sure you walk around that way and not in front of the models. And if you have any questions, we want you to ask in the mic so that our live streamers can listen also. Cool? So if you have a question, just raise your hand and we'll bring you the microphone. And I'm going to bring up Nicholas and Kate. They're going to introduce the rest of the day.
Hi guys, good morning. So we're gonna do some demos for you guys, but before we get started, we're gonna show the film that we showed yesterday. And I want you guys to think about when you watch it, maybe you're going to take away something different this time, having gone through the hands-on and having gotten your hands in some hair and having worked differently and challenged yourself, maybe some new things you might take away from seeing the references in the images. Cool, so let's do that. Did you guys notice?
The styles, the shapes.
Yeah, I noticed that too. I kept looking at the edges of the haircut. Did you guys look at that too? Like, okay, well, what kind of stroke did they use there? Was that a broad stroke? Was that a tighter stroke? How about you guys? Anything else you took away from watching it again?
Roller bangs.
a world of bangs, right? And all the different variations that you can do, absolutely. How about the finishing? The different products that was used? Some had more of a dry matte finish. Some was finished a little bit more like wet. That cool. Awesome. Yeah, I do too. Like that short haircut. I love that. Almost like Teddy Boy. Yes, so good. Cool. So now we're bringing up my model. Cool, coming up. I'll meet ya. I'll meet you up here. I'll meet ya. I'll meet you up here. This is Almitra. You just met her. Flip it up. Come on, Vogue. It's like my dream. This is Almitra. Okay, wait. Yeah, so I don't like putting it on yet. And her hair texture is incredible. It is a lot of hair. And what I notice is that where it's weighty, it loses its curl. And where it's lighter, it exposes the curl a lot more. And it's just always nice to take that little peek inside, like right below that crown. I love like, boop, opening the door and you see what's really happening. Even when clients like straighten their hair sometimes. I'm like, oh, you straightened it, but you didn't get back here, did ya? And you see like their natural, like, I have straight hair. I'm like, no, you don't. I see this wiggle back here. So she has this really gorgeous hair texture and I love it. And I don't want to lose that. And the thing about having thick hair and taking weight out, it's okay to still have thick hair when you're left. You don't have to take so much weight out where you totally change the beauty and the quality of the hair. I don't want to do that. And so that's something to think about too, is removing weight. But okay, if someone has thick hair, they're always going to have thick hair. And you don't need to thin it out and make it look like thin hair. But you can strategically take out weight to make it function better. And that's a point of difference. How does it function as opposed to just like thinning the hair out? So pay attention to that as well. So yeah, so we're not going to change the length a lot. I just don't like that it's touching her shoulder, right? And I want it to like have her, she wants to keep it fresher and I want to like raise it up a little bit more. So I'm just going to maybe take it up like an inch in length. I'm going to take a lot of the bulk out of it, remove a lot of the weight in it because I don't like the perimeter or the profile of it. I think it's too triangular for her, and I think that's great, but I want to change it, and she's kind of had this. Karina cut it last, and she just cut it blunt with the scissor, right? So it's going to be, it has that kind of on purpose bluntness, but I want to change it. I want to really make it smaller where the bevel is, like where that bump of weight that you see. That's why I think it's so important to remember where you're taking out weight and looking at when it's dry. Because when it's wet, you lose that. You know, like, where was the weight? So you're really remembering, okay, it's 3 inches above the perimeter. Anything above that, I may be thinning out her hair too much, you know, but kind of taking it out strategically has always helped me end up with something that I like better. And we're gonna be giving her also a bang as well, right? She needs it. So the person that came, she needs that. The person that came to my mind, and she has all this cool like stuff, you know? And without it, I feel like without the bang, you notice that more because it's such a difference between fine and then heavy. But if I lighten all this up, it should feel a bit more harmonious to me. So I'm going to take a bang section like we talked about yesterday. And so where you start your bang is where the head shape starts to turn forward, right? Because this is the hair that wants to live forward. You can even like put a comb. Sometimes it's good to just take a comb and put it flat on the head. And like where it lifts off means the head shape is turning, and that's a good kind of rough place to start. You know, you have your parameters. You can always go further back, but that's kind of a good place to start. And then the width is the recessions, right? Really like opening up this area and looking and saying, okay, these are the high points for recession, you know, and not wanting to drag this hair into your bang section, right? Because it's like you have those weird chop marks. I've seen it. I've even done it. And I'm like, oopsie. Sorry. Let's give you some bits. you know? Yeah, because when you're learning, you don't know. You're like, oh, God, okay, whoopsie. Put it over. So we're going to do that. So I'm going to take a bang section, and I'm just going to hold it in one section. And what I'm going to do is hold it just parallel to the curve of the head shape, so it falls rounded, right? I'm not going to hold it square. If I hold it square, then there'll be longer bits in the front. If I hold it to the head shape, then it falls with a natural bevel. So it kind of sits the bang back into the head, right? Because you're just following the shape of the head, and it customizes itself to the head shape, right? Even when you're doing layers, I think it's nice to work with the head shape, not always cut it square or over direct it. Especially if you're doing shags and stuff, like to really work with that head shape is so cool. So we're going to do that. I'm going to hold it all in one section, right? I mean, maybe you could break it down into more, but I'm just going to attempt it in one because I like it. I'm going to try it. I'm going to try it out on your hair today. So what I'm going to do is aim for my target length, and how I choose my target length is by measuring where I want it to fall. Remember yesterday, Karina was talking about how to find your target length was just by, okay, when the hair is natural, her cowlicks are there, pick a place where you want it to start, and then with tension, it's really down there. So that's the length that you will be cutting it at, right? Because when the hair is wet, you need that tension. Remember the 3 rules: tension, angle of blade, all that stuff. I forget the third one, but it was there. So yeah, I'm gonna want something that's gonna fall here. So with tension, it means I have to cut it like around her mouth, right? So it pops up and sits where I want it, and not cut it here and it pop up, and then she has like, Beetlejuice bangs, which are not bad, totally you should do that, but I don't want to do that today. Someone did that yesterday. Who did that? Baby bangs. You did that? Oh yeah, they were so. It was so good. It really was good. I'm giving you the credit.
She wanted me to do the bangs. I didn't take. Oh yeah, no, I didn't go after. I wanted to.
Girl, you do it. I'm gonna watch. Yeah, I totally get that. I used to love watching my mentors like Howard and Raymond. Like, there's one who's like, do a square layer. I'm like, how? I'm scared. I don't know what to do. I actually don't know what you're telling me right now. But to you, you're telling me something that makes it so easy. Just do the bangs. And I'm like, I don't know what you're talking about. So please do it for me, And then I was like, oh, now I get it. It's okay. We need that. We need someone to show us how to do it right? And I'm not going to pretend like I did it. I knew, because I didn't know. I didn't know anything, But now I know stuff. And now I want to teach it. So that's why I became a teacher, is because I learned some cool stuff, So what I want to do is I'm going to hold it out here, and I'm going to cut to a point. And it's just going to be like a slow to the length and a slow to the length here. And I might dig inside of it just once, just to create a little bit of space when it falls. Right? So by coming from shorter to longer, she'll have some shorter bits, which will kind of splay out. Right? So we'll have some shorter bits underneath her bang, and then a little shorter bit on top to make sure it doesn't just sit like a shelf. There's like a little bit of a layer, a little bit of a bevel there. Because I think with her hair texture, I don't want this to be in the front. You know how she has like the shelfiness? That will happen if I don't do all that. I'll be like, and no matter how much product I do, how much we teach our clients about products, sometimes they're just not going to do it, right? And so I always like, go see your clients at work. What does their hair really look like when you're not doing it for them, right? I should tell you, oh, maybe my work should be better, or different, or work with them. Anyways, so yeah, that's what I'm going to do today. So just simple bob. Pay attention again to how we're holding it. Finger to razor position is so important. You have to, because that is everything, especially when you want to cut strong lines and get better at balancing. Who had trouble balancing both sides of the haircut? Right?
Oh, sorry.
Yeah. It's the natural thing to do, because one side you're strong and you're like going back and forth. So just really pay attention to how I'm holding it, and then my razor position to my hand, right? And angle of blade. I gotta take off my jewelry. Okay, cool. Yeah, I think I'm done with my consultation. Questions? Comments? Concerns?
I have a question.
Yeah.
Thanks. How short will you take it in the nape area?
Oh, good question. I didn't talk about that, did I? Yeah, let's look at it. So remember yesterday we talked about dropping each section slightly longer than the previous to not first recut your guide. Second, because you're using a razor, so you're cutting on top of your finger, not below your finger. So you need that little bit of extra room, right? To let your section slightly drop out, pull away, and then you cut the new hair only. Remember Karina did that like wiggle and the hair fell away? So it's kind of like that. When you're holding the hair, you let the underneath kind of drop away, move past it, and that tells you. So to get the length that I want, I'm probably gonna have to start my first section at her hairline. Yeah.
Right now she has a bit of a side part.
Yeah.
Are you gonna encourage her to wear it more in the center? I have clients that come in a lot and they want bangs and they always, you know, a lot of them wear it really far over and so
Yeah.
I try to explain to them like maybe moving a little more in the center, but it takes a little like coaxing, and so sometimes you'll cut it and then they go like this and then their bangs look
Like,
off,
oh,
you
look
know?
at a big hole right there.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think what I like to do is I like to just really work within the recession, and whatever happens within the recession is up to them. Right? That's, I mean, if they're like, well, I part it slightly over here, great, you can do that. I mean, if you're parting it at the recession, let's say they part right at the recession, and they like that super deep part. Know what has to happen? I have to shift, right? So I have to shift lower than the recession on this side to create that balance, right? So instead of having here, I may be like that. Because you still want to be some hair on the other side of their part just for visual balance and harmony. So really paying attention to where do you actually part your hair? I'm saying do it here, but when you get home and you don't see me and you're like, I'm here, and or I'm way over here. A lot of clients like that too, right? They're like way over here. And you're like, cool. And you cut the bang and then there's nothing over here and all this hair over here. Sometimes you'll have to go a little lower than the recession. And see this stuff here, I let that drop away. It's almost like letting that stuff drop away and this stuff can sit on top of it, if that was the situation. So I would just adjust, like it's not symmetrical then. It's slightly asymmetrical to compensate for where their parting is at. Is that helpful to you? Really? Not just shaking your head at me? Okay, good. Yes. Yes. Yeah. 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 And you know, like yesterday when we were doing bangs together, I was like, after you cut it, move it around. Like, it's not that, you know? It's like get your hand in there after you do the section and move it. See what it really wants to do. See what it's telling you what it wants to do, because it's going to speak to you and tell you, oh, I don't like that. You moved it in a weird way. This is how I really want to live. So paying attention to where it really wants to live is after you go in and you're like cutting your bang and you're just like, and you're like smashing it and you're placing it. I mean, you got to like let it do it, you know? Let it come back out. Let it like jump back out, because then it helps you also read where weight's going to happen also. So yeah, good question. Yeah. Yep.
Say there were a client that comes in with her hair flat with a ton of product. How would you be able to determine where it falls or just kind of move it around? Would you do anything differently?
Your question is if she comes in with not her natural texture and you know she has texture in her hair, to wet it down with product in the consultation. She's talking like, my hair is naturally wavy, but let's say it's blow dried straight that day. I would take out a little bit of prep or some primer or something, just kind of wet it down or some water so I can see, okay, this is your true natural texture. Yeah, bring it back out. No, this would be in the consultation, so this would be before you get it washed, right? I'm like, oh, you're straight, but you're naturally curly. Maybe I would wet it down so I can really see, again, if there's a growth patterns and cowlicks that you really want to be aware of in that. Yeah. Yeah. Okay, cool. Yeah. Let's get her rinsed. Go with her. Cool. Yeah.
watched the, sorry, my head's brain dead. I watched this video last night, and it was really hard hearing you.
Get hard what?
Last night.
Oh, to hear me? Oh,
So,
bummer.
yeah, so that's all I know that, yeah.
Okay. Do I need to have it like up here? At 2:30 in the morning? Oh, I get like that too when I'm not in my bed. Do you guys get like that? Like I stayed at Karina's house, I'm like sleeping. Oh, I'm awake. Oh, you are. You're so funny. Yeah. Yeah.
What did you see differently after watching it the
Yeah.
second time?
I think after watching it, I felt like I understood the layering. I was having problems yesterday doing the partings and getting the partings of the layer haircut, and I think after watching that, I'm like, oh, all right, wait, I forgot that I need to divide that to bring it around. Like I saw things that I had forgotten when I was doing the haircut. So yeah, it just reminded me of things.
So awesome.
It was good.
Really
That's
great.
good.
Happy to have that.
Yeah. I know that when I take a class, I forget how to cut hair.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Right? You guys are the same? I'm like, wait, how do I hold it again? How do I hold this comb? I've never held a comb before. I just get like completely like, okay, like I don't even know how to do anything right now, right? Like, yeah, but I've been doing it for so many years, and like clients love me, but for some reason here, I can't even do hair. I love that though,
Me too.
right? I'm like,
Yeah.
I feel so open in a class, you know, I do. I just try to be as open as possible. And one of my mentors is like, you know, there's no such thing as a mistake. There's just no such thing as a mistake. It's all a learning opportunity. You did something, and now it's even maybe better that you did make a mistake, because I'm going to show you how to fix it. And that's the takeaway too. So just don't be afraid. You just got to let yourself explore and have that learning, openness to learning, right? There's no egos here. We're all students. Every time I come here and I teach, I'm learning something. I'm how to say it better and how not to be a goofball, but I am a goofball. So I like my socks.
I do.
Wait, what was my name at Bumble? Kickolas? I was like, oh, that is me.
What are you putting in her hair?
This Colton King tonic. You guys played with this? It's moisturizing, I would say, right?
Yeah.
I don't know. I mean, it's a cool company. You know more. Karina knows more than I do about it.
Is anyone here?
Totally.
Am I on? I don't sound on. I like when my voice sounds loud. Just kidding. So Colton King is a brand that is out of Salt Lake City, and their packaging is refillable. So people just buy refills, and they're eco-friendly. They're thinking forward. So they're a really cool company. So it's a couple that owns it, and then Jared is sort of like their spokesperson. He's sort of like their Howard, I guess.
Yeah.
Yeah. So we only have a few products by them. I'm still exploring the line, but
Yeah.
I like the two products that we use, the tonic and the balm.
I do too. I love that too. I have it at my salon, and I just fell in love with it because of the glass packaging. I'm like, it just looks pretty on the station.
Absolutely.
The little, the set spray. Yeah. That's good. I just noticed it because of the glass packaging. It's so beautiful, and it's weighty, and it's heavy, and it's no plastic. And then I started just to learn more about it, and I carry it, and I like it.
I have a question over here.
Yeah.
Oh, you can pick one. That was in your bag, you guys. Play with that and let us know what you think.
It's very spicy. So be careful, because I've sprayed it in a client's face and they're like, oh. And they're like wiping their eye the whole appointment. I'm like, I'm so sorry. It's very spicy. I was like, like even now it's very spicy. But I actually sprayed it and it went in her eye. And then she's like, the whole appointment. She's like, I'm like, I'm so sorry. I'm such an idiot. You're never coming back. I know it.
It does.
Yeah.
It smells good.
To me, it smells like, fall. Spices in the air and lattes with pumpkin spices in it.
Ooh. Do you always start out with a product right away?
I do.
You do?
Yeah, I do. To me, I'm like preparing my canvas, right? It's like an artist will gesso their canvas before they apply their colors because they're evening out the surface. And I feel like hair for me is the same way because the hair is porous. There's little like holes in the hair. So if I like put a product that helps to even out porosity, fill, and add moisture, then it behaves better as my haircut starts to dry because, again, we like to see our haircuts become something. And I'd say for those of you that really wet down your models a lot yesterday, maybe try not to, especially when you're getting towards the end. Get moisture other ways, like a grooming cream, like don't keep inside, because we want to see the hair alive, and that's how you're reading hair. It teaches you really to read hair. You're reading, oh, that part's working really well, or there's the weight. I see the weight right there. That bend right there needs a little bit more weight taken out. You don't see it if it's always dripping wet with product. And I always say, spray product where your tool is touching the hair. Where your tool's not touching, it's okay to let that kind of get a little bit drier.
I think it's really great for the client as well, so they can see the haircut come alive without even using a blow dryer as the process happens, and I feel like they're always blown away.
Yeah. Sometimes I do use clips though, I'm not gonna lie.
What?
I do. Sorry, Karina.
In what situation?
With hair like this. With hair like this. Oh yeah. I do, right? I'm not gonna be like, yeah, too much hair. It's like the combing and it's falling. I'm like, God, this is too much.
Never say never.
Okay. Let's start. Who had trouble palming? Who's tricky doing this, right?
Yeah.
But you get why, right? So it's just, it's a safety, right? It just keeps it away from cutting me if I don't palm. Or the thumb. Right? Or the thumb like here, you're like, ooh, and I'm always bleeding.
I think also too, because we're so used to using our scissors, our thumbs are like a magnet to there. So it's really about changing your muscle memory in your hand. So as you go, that'll change.
Nicholas, can you bend the microphone up away from the socket?
Is that better?
On it, think sweetie.
Also, Sandra from the live feed said, LOL, totally, I love Nicholas.
Oh.
Thank you, Sandra, from the live feed. Sandra from the live feed.
Can you read when they say, I hate Nicholas? Get him off the stage? Because that's what they're really saying. Just kidding.
No way. I could watch Nicholas cut all day.
That's regarding your socks.
Okay, so let's go into, you know what? I'm going to start on the heel side because the heel side is my harder side. Right? So the heel side is the one that I have trouble with. So on the heel side, I like to break it down into just smaller subsections. Again, keep your hand where you want it. Open the door, heel edge, cut. Open the door, heel edge. Yeah.
Beautiful.
Good question.
I'll repeat the question. Why did you choose to not set her hairline in?
Because I felt like her hairline wasn't that jumpy. Like to me, her hairline is not disturbing how the bob lays, right? If someone, let's say, had a whale tail, and you're like, that's really gonna push out my hair. It's really gonna make that bob look wonky. Then I would come underneath it and do the setting in and the undercutting, basically. Yeah.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah. But hers, like, it goes with the head shape, so it's really nice. Yes.
Do you use the flat of the blade on the skin to taper the neck area, or do you use a guarded razor?
Good question. I love a guarded. I'm not about cutting anybody. There's this guy, he would always walk with little like red bumps that would bleed. After I'd be like, let me just clean up your neck with tonic. You know, it's like, no, I'm tired of that. I just use a guarded now. Yeah. If you can with an unguarded, go for it. But for me, I just don't like using it. Yeah. So again, keeping my tension.
Beautiful.
So you're using the tip?
The tip to the right.
To the right, heel to the left.
Yeah. It's tricky being on stage. Yeah, I think that's good, right, guys?
Beautiful.
Whoa, oh God.
How do you feel about her head position right now?
I had it flat as I'm underneath the occipital bone to stretch out my plane, the head shape. As I start to get up, I slowly will move it to natural. Yeah. Because underneath it, it's hard to like get in there because there's that dip right there. So I have to keep the head slightly flat. And also because I'm tall, so I don't want to like elevate too much and start to have like graduation.
Absolutely.
Which the razor does graduate naturally for me. I really have to watch that. Because I'm so much taller than what I'm looking at, that it's easy for me to pull close, because you want to pull everything to your body, you know, when you're cutting hair. It's easy for me to do that. So I don't do that.
Don't do that.
You gotta like get down. Like I was at Karina's house, I was like, oh, she's seeing my underwear.
Ooh, at least you were wearing some.
My skinny legs. My skinny legs could use sun.
Oh, Travis.
Of course.
And as you are moving around her head, I notice you're kind of moving her head as well.
Yeah. Again, just to get the hair.
So
yeah.
important.
So I'm not elevating as much. Yep.
We have to move our bodies so much, and as well as the client.
Yeah, I think it's okay.
It's
you know, I tell my
really
client
important.
that, you know, I'm going to be doing this a lot.
Yes.
You know, so try not to like keep your neck stiff. I don't want to like, you know.
Yes. You have to cut for
Make your head like a
comfort.
bobblehead. Right? Sometimes also what I do is if it's really tricky, the sides, they jump up a lot, I'll subsection out the side like that. And now it's a lot less hair for me to grab, and I can really cut it at 0 elevation.
Perfect.
Because that's the place that's leading me towards the front. And then this right here, I don't have to be as scared, you know, because that's already taken me there.
Are you tapping your finger?
Slightly, but it's not really. I feel like the angle of my blade, it's more stroking the hair than coming down onto my finger. It's a feel. The razor is a feeling. You have to get used to the razor stroking the hair shaft. It's just, it does. You have to. You have to.
there's somebody
And I don't mean like in a crude way. You have to though, because that's the feel of the razor to the blade. It's not a scissor where you don't really feel the tool on the hair. The razor, you're feeling this really sharp tool on the hair. All right, so I put my blade here. See how it's like through? It's not just going on the very cat scratching, I call that. It goes through. And then I rotate.
Beautiful.
Let my guide drop away.
I love that you're working from behind your ear towards the center, so you really can have a clear view of what your line's going to be, where it's going to
Yeah. That was just like, you know, what I've learned to do in a bob, because the transition from a bob from back to side to front is that make it or break it, right?
Exactly.
You're like, tap on it and do all that stuff. And it's really impossible to sometimes do with the razor. You can't, right? So if I sub this out of the way, I have a lot less hair to hold in my hand, and I can really get in there with my edge and really get that guy nice and then what's ever behind it, I know that I have like my safety there. Yeah. I'll just like move it around and look at it.
What are you looking for?
Looking just for a weight. It's a little bit longer on that side too. A little bit longer on this side. So it's going to go back. Yeah.
The heel side. You said it's always your side, the heel side.
Yeah, it's scissor cut. I'm just trying to figure it out.
Okay. Now I'm just going to go to from, you know, low crown to top of ear, and then I'll go from crown to low recession. And I'll just keep working one side because I'm balanced now behind both ears, so I can now just kind of work my flow. Just do one side completely. I'm going to take out some weight now.
How did you just decide when to take out the weight?
When I noticed that it got bulky. Remember we saw it when it was dry? And it was like just a couple inches above where the length is. Now I'm at a place where, oh yeah, it's going to really start expanding on me. So I'm going to subsection that away so I don't take out any weight below it. Push the hair in, and where that bends, I'm safe to take weight out past the bend of the hair. Because the bend of the hair means the hair is hugging the head shape now, and your weight removal is not going to look like breakage.
Right.
Too short. Bing. Or when you're drying it, you're like, oh, what's all that stuff? I did that. I did that. Sorry.
Yeah, I think with weight removal, sometimes it can look really intense when we're taking out these big chunks of hair. But when you go in and you're just taking out the top surface layers, that's when you're creating those flyaways. that clients are saying, oh, I hate the razor. That's usually why, because you're not taking out enough when you're doing your weight removal.
Sometimes going too high up on the razor maybe can cause that.
Or going too high up on the razor, absolutely.
Yeah, like if I go like really close to this scalp and start taking out weight there, there's these little hairs that I've just now put in there, right?
Bend the hair and go low.
That's usually a good rule of thumb. Put it in. That's what I was taught, you know.
And are you taking the same amount of weight each time, or does it vary for where you are on the head shape?
It varies, but I try and be consistent, you know. I think for a beginner, it's good just to get your rhythm down of taking weight out.
That's a good point.
Like kind of keep them spaced evenly apart. And then always move it around after, right? And that looks great. Yeah, with weight removal, I always like to think of it like if you are feathering. I'm a featherer, you know. I'm a featherer, meaning that I feather out my weight, not just draw down. A lot of people do different things. I feather it out. And I feel like that works best for me. I'll show you.
Okay.
I think it's actually less.
I feel like when I'm doing it, I can grab a little more hair as I go out and go back up and grab a little more and go back up and grab a little more. With the drawing, I feel like it's just that one.
Yeah.
You know.
Like with feathering, when I put my blade in, I see how I get it moving before I start.
You have more
as
of a
opposed to
rhythm.
this. See how much more came out of that? See that?
The way I do it, though, I'm taking out more with my feather.
You know, so I like really kind of feather it down as opposed to this. See that? One is a lot more for me.
And also, do you feel like it really depends on the hair texture? How much you're taking out? Like sometimes when you showed how much you took that big chunk, do you feel like sometimes that's necessary?
Yeah.
Okay.
I don't know, maybe I'm just like scared.
No, I think it's
all
just
the
so good to
time.
really think that we can tailor so
Yeah.
much to a client, so much more almost with the razor. And I think after using the razor for so long, we could do that with our scissors as well. But being really present in each section can just change everything.
So you're using the same transition technique that you did yesterday?
Oh yeah, I forgot to talk about that.
Yeah.
Yeah, so there's the ear there. So my first section was, okay, see the bump of the ear? The hair that's not being disturbed by the bump can live there. The hair that's over the bump, I over direct back here. And I'll cut it with this section. And see this little bit of over direction? Right there, a little teeny bit of over direction. When I bring that back over, it keeps my line heading in the place that I want it to head and not be shorter than I want it to. And so I'll take a piece of now this over directed section and I'll bring this back down, and that will be my reference point to cut the front of it. So there's no having to tap or anything like that. It's just, it allows you to have a kind of seamless transition into the side.
Do you continue doing that the whole entire way up, or are you just doing your first section?
Let me show you.
Cool.
So here's my second section. So my second section, I'm going to go from crown to like her high recession, which is right here. And so to answer your question, I don't do it every section. I only do it in that first one because now this hair gets cut slightly past that. So you have that little bit of overhang, right? It's not going to be met to that section. So that little bit of hanging past it, you don't need to do that. Yeah. There is one right here. There isn't here. Creating space. I love creating that space, right? See that through there? How it's almost like you're kind of punching holes in that solid piece of paper, that solid wall. You're kind of like breaking it up. It's like deconstruction. You're creating some space so the hair can fall into each other, right? So instead of the hair sitting like this on top of each other, you create some space. Now the hair can fall into each other. And that's how people call it, you're ghost layering it. Ghost layer, invisible layers, invisible layers, you know? Because you're doing the same thing as a layer would. You're collapsing weight and density, but you don't see it, right? So that weight removal is the ability to do that. Some people might, with a scissor, pull this out, layer off the corner, then you see that layer. I'm doing the same thing, but it's internal, so it's hidden. She got ghosted. I'm usually the ghoster.
Are you?
Well, bye. Bye. So I always stop before my second knuckle. I don't push it. I've pushed it, and it just turns out like crap. Sometimes.
Crap.
Sorry.
That works.
That's pretty. Señorita más fina. Who's that girl? And what would be some kind of good cream to put in? Where's that? Oh. You guys know that video? Sorry, live streamers. Putting it into my hair that I've done. And doing a little tuck so it sets. Right. So when she untucks it, she has a little thing. Yeah, thank you. How do you guys like to be taught?
I love that question. Because everybody is such a different learner. There's visual and
Visual, but I do need hands-on.
Absolutely.
I think right after visual, and I can feel it, I can see it.
Yeah.
Get my hands in there, understand what you're talking about.
Anybody else want to share? How do you like to be taught? Just so we know, we're working with you guys and.
I like to be watched while I'm doing it. Like I want somebody to be right there with me to make sure to spot something. Otherwise, when the instructor walks away, I could be doing something wrong, and I don't even know it.
Right.
Yeah.
Good. That's good to know.
Yes.
One-on-one education too. Available here.
Let's. Do you want to see that? And then.
I just wanted to say there is one-on-one education available here with me, and I know Nicholas does it too. And I mean, a lot of us are open to it. You know, if you wanted to just book a session with a model,
It's almost like bring a model.
Yeah, and then
book
we
out a
watch you the
couple
whole entire
hours,
time, and we
and you
totally
get that
kick your butt.
Intimate session. Right?
If you like your butt kicked, which I do.
We have
I
another
love my
question.
butt kicked.
All right. One more question, Nicholas.
Yeah.
I'd like to learn visual and hands-on, but also using the right verbiage to articulate how the cut is done. That's helped me a lot.
Hearing the words, how to describe. Yep. Who else likes the words? How to talk about it. How to explain it to your client. Right? That's huge.
It's huge.
Like
3 layers.
You know? Yeah. I want 3 layers. Yeah.
Hi, Sandra. Shall I answer? So Sandra asked what cream Nicholas used for the hair. It's Waterfall. It's a foundation product from R&Co.
Cool.
It's, okay, so it is the lightest of the foundation products.
Okay.
It's Centerpiece, which is a spray. It's a little lighter, but this isn't a product class.
So just to go over again the ear split, for those of you doing a bob, see how the hair juts out from the ear? And then there's a space where it doesn't jut out. That's a space that I don't touch. It's the space that's is stirred by the bump of the ear that I'm just pulling behind. Right? Now this is still living at natural fall. This is still living, cutting it where it lives. This is the only place you'll slightly bring back, right? To compensate for the turn and the curve of the ear and the head shape change. There. I like to be watched too, in terms of how I like to be taught. And sometimes I'm even guilty of this, and I know something that I have to do to be a better teacher is explaining something, like, okay, bye, I explained it. You know? Explain it, let me stay there with you, right? I'd be like, not let me ghost you.
Are you a ghost?
Sorry. Yeah.
We have 30 minutes.
For me? Okay. Remember at Bumble, one side was demo side, one side was real time. You had to like rush through that second side. You're like, haircut, I'm at the salon. Is that what you're telling me? Get through it, queen. No, but sweetie, come on now, hurry up.
What are the most common mistakes you see done with the razor?
Good question.
It's a good question. Most common mistakes I see is tension.
Tension.
Yeah. Grabbing too much. Trying to grab that whole hair. Instead of like, let me take it in bite-sized morsels, because the slow way is the fast way.
Or sometimes not enough hair too, right? When the section is too fine.
Yeah, that too.
Right.
Sometimes it's like too fine, and then you're just like not cutting anything. Just like the hair's just like disappearing. You need some meat to cut through. Yeah. No way.
That transition. Aw.
Wow. I love that. It changed mine. I always do it now.
Same. That was a big thing for me after coming from Sassoon where, oh my God, it took me so long. And then I learned that. And I was like, what?
What?
You
Done.
know?
I know.
It's great.
No more tapping.
Well, it makes more sense. Exactly. Yeah, never did.
I always end up getting a hole still after I tapped.
Yeah, why?
I would tap and tap. Like, oh, there's still
You're
a
all cutting
hole.
her hair when you're tapping.
Right?
Yeah.
Sassoon was hard, man.
It was.
I was telling the girls I had to like clean toilets with a toothbrush. At the New York one, I assisted at the New York Sassoon, and boy, stand there. Don't look at the stylist, but look at them, you know. But don't look at them. But don't look at them.
I was like crying.
Oh my God. Yeah, dog. Right? Oh my gosh.
But I like how you were told to clean the toilets with the toothbrush. You were like, okay.
Yeah. I just did it. I'm like, okay.
Yeah.
It was gross.
It's all wax on, wax off. Right?
Yeah. Yeah, and then I got the training, then I bounced.
Right?
And I went to Bumble.
Yes.
Got the training, bounced, and then Bumble's like, you want to be a teacher? I'm like, yeah. Do you want to teach basic hair cutting? Yeah. So I did. Because like all that training at Sassoon is the foundation. It's like we usually go through that first at Bumble.
Absolutely.
You learn your scissor, your foundation, and then you move into razor. I was like, let's do it all with the scissor. Now let's redo it all with the razor.
That's really
So you see the
important.
difference.
Right.
This tool does this tool does this. Which one do I pick up for the client? And I always use both.
Right.
I'm not like a scissor versus razor. It's whatever tool gets me to the place I need to be. And understanding the tool.
I feel like that does help you understand the tool so much because you can also rely on those shapes. And sometimes you have to learn how to have such a solid foundation before you can like destruct it.
When do you like to use a scissor? I'm not going to use a razor, I'm going to use a scissor.
Usually when I want something a little bit stronger. Usually if a client has been razored for a while, I'm like, oh, I've done a couple razors. Let me go back and use a scissor just to strengthen up that hair again. So the next time I can maybe do some more razor work. So you're kind of like putting the tool that's going to make the ends a little bit like tougher, just so there's some longevity in the haircut. That looks good.
Beautiful.
Right? Okay. I'm just working to her part, and I'm going to section out that bang section. Again, reading where it wants to separate, like how Karina did. She's like reading her, reading her. You could even like go like that and then kind of push it and it will like separate around where you want it to separate. Yeah. There's so many little tricks. I feel like who did that really well was Andrian. Whoopsie. The overhang stuff I'm going to connect right now. With the large tension of my comb, because I'm dealing with activity. So I can just take the large section of my comb, bring it down. Senorita Cosa, oh. You know what that means? Miss Thing. Miss Thing. Who teaches? What do you guys like about being a teacher? You learn more. Yeah. Right? Yeah. I think it's like legacy, right? Passing it down, continuing the line, right? Like I don't have kids, but I have kids. That gave me goosebumps.
I know that's why I opened up this place, because I was like, we can't let it all just go away. We have to keep on passing it down.
Love it. Yep. Senorita Cosa's a little longer on this side. It's okay. I just took a class at Sassoon. I went back to the one in Santa Monica. I took a color class, but it was really cool because in the beginning they had like about 4 or 5 different educators come out from all the different departments and do demos. So even though you were there for color, you got to see some hair cutting and stuff like that too. It's cool. But I bring that up, you realize that, whoa, I'm good. How much time do I have left? Okay. Ooh, I'm scared. I'm scared to do this in front of y'all. Okay, I think I want to stand here.
I love this.
Okay, so I'm doing it wrong. Remember she said don't do that?
But you're still cutting away from yourself in a way. Looks good. Yeah. Perfect.
Comprende?
Cute.
There's a little bit of weight here in the center. Oh my God, I'm sorry. She's been bopped. Okay, so I want to show you one more thing. And this is the thing. Yeah, I think it's good, right? Yeah, maybe something right here. Now for this crown, I want to have a little bit more of a pop through here. But again, I don't want to layer it, because then she has a layered, almost like a shag layer, but not really a shag bob, because I'm not fully layering it. So I'm going to come underneath the back, right where I want to emphasize Crown Town. I will say that I've learned so much from teaching with Karina. I really have. I really have. Like what she's doing, speaking from an outside educator perspective, is really quite remarkable. So thank you. It is. Because it's cool that you're creating space for other voices in hair. Right? That's really cool. It is. Okay. The trick is, don't dig. Keep it flat. Because you're like, shady. Keep it. Yeah.
Yes.
Yesterday I dried my girl, and I was like, I wish I didn't dry it, so today I'm not going to dry her hair. I like it just like this. Yeah, do it.
What's that? Totally.
Something in an aerosol, which just spoke to me as a hairdresser. I'm like, totally. Aerosol. I think it's texture.
Smells good. So good.
This is Instagram hair. Just kidding. Okay, guys, I'm done. Thank you.
Boo. We want to watch more.
Stand up. You guys always do like after your clients or with the haircut, I'm like, I need to see you standing up. Like I need to see you out of the chair and then suddenly in real life. Isn't that weird how that happens? You're like, I need to see you in the world. So good. Do you love it? Yeah. I like that little bang trick I did. Who knew I could do that?
I did.
But that's the cool thing about teaching. It's like it makes you remember, doesn't it? You're like, oh, I remember that. Other voices, other rooms. Cool. All right, thank you. Okay, so up next we have Kate.
Hello.
She's gonna come on up and do another demo for you guys. And you're doing a long layer, right?
I'm doing a long layer.
Awesome.
Our model will be out in one moment. Thank you. It was so nice to watch Nicholas do that demo. It feels so good to be around you. I love you.
Sometimes my takeaway from having us all here and being in the same room and all being students and teachers together is that this tribe thing that you're feeling can happen in your salons, right? That's like my takeaway. It's like, wow, I want to bring this tribal feeling of we're all wanting to grow into your salon.
I love that.
Okay.
Right.
Get out there. We're all staring at her. Wait, what was your
Oh, I was just asking about the live streaming. So next time you have a class, if you can't make it, you can pay to watch the class. Is that how it works?
Yes, you can pay to watch the live stream from wherever you are by logging in. It's brand new. It's cool. And I love that we can take questions from people that aren't even here. I think that's really, I'm sorry, I'm on.
All right. Are we ready to see a long layer? Here's our beautiful model, Nani. So we were talking this morning. I was really looking at her hair. And the only concern she has is that she has an agent and she doesn't want to go too short with her bangs. And she also wants to keep some length. And I feel like that's something that happens all the time in the salon. And people are like, but I want to change, but you don't. I feel like, though, we could do it, right? But I know what they mean, and I think that we can change so much. I feel like we can change so much with just a few really strong techniques and change the balance, give strength in some areas, and give lightness to others where it needs it.
I totally agree with that. Yeah. She said that in order to make, the clients may want to change, but they don't really want to change. And she's saying a way to shift balance is to strengthen some areas and to lighten other areas and shift the balance and proportion, and that can be big enough as a change, right?
Yes,
Yeah.
exactly. Thank you. Cool. So I'm going to start in the front, and I do this almost, not all the time, but most of the time, because to me the length is almost an afterthought. You know, I know we're going to keep the length, and we're just going to be, you know, somewhere around in here we're taking off. What I want to think about is her face and opening up her cheekbones and changing the head shape in through here. So I'll start in that front with a really good bang section. Grab my comb. Again, I'm going to check her head shape. And since we don't want to create a bang, but we want to open up her face, I'll keep it a little bit smaller. I'm really going to work from the inside out, similar to yesterday. I'm going to be thinking about taking out a lot of weight in through the center, so it can be very soft, and keeping my weight through the corners. So as I move, I'll be changing my stroke. I'll next go into her sides. Which the difference of hair is so much, right, from the sides to the back. I don't really want to relayer a lot of this because it is so soft and it's been layered and layered. So instead of working from the front, I'm actually going to start taking weight and length all at the same time. So to me, especially with fine hair, it builds weight. It gives more volume. So I'm going to start from behind, the way I like it, and pay attention to my stroke and having control over the blade. So I'm going to give all of this strength where it needs it and release the weight in here where it's really dense. And it's making this look so much more fine because of that density here. So I'll do that on either side. And then I'm going to work into her layers. Through the top. Right now it feels very heavy through that crown and also underneath her crown. I'm going to be over directing everything to the center, and as I'm using the stroke of the blade, I'm going to be thinking about what I want to change in the head shape. So here I'm going to start a little bit shorter, and then as I move through the crown, I'm going to be dipping my razor down a bit, just right there where I want some more volume, and then bring it back up so I can get it all done at once and give it that movement that it needs. I really want to preserve some of these corners here because of how much finer her hair is through the sides. I need that. So I'm going to be really considering that when I'm with my over direction. You'll probably notice I won't even take too much off those corners at the end, really creating that concave shape. I'll also be over directing everything straight up to the sky, and probably most of this is going to drop out. When I'm through with that, I'm going to see how I'm feeling, but most likely I'm going to go under the crown and pretty good weight removal, but pretty deliberate, and take almost like a triangle section right out under there. So I can again preserve those sides, but break a lot of this up. That's one length. And afterwards, I'm going to shake everything out, and I'm going to bring everything to the back and cut her really square and keep it clean, shorter strokes, so I can preserve that length from the bottom, but get rid of all of this and make it clean. So she'll have strength and softness all at once. Is that clear?
That gives longevity, right, for her hair.
Absolutely.
Wear it longer.
Yes.
Yeah, and that gives longevity, right?
Longevity, and I think about that so much with my clients. Sometimes clients will be like, I could go 6 months or a year, and to me, I know we were taught like every 6 weeks rebook, but I feel like I build so much more of a clientele because of that, and people really appreciate it. And you come in and you just get a little bang trim or a tweak, and their hair just gets better and better.
I love that.
So I'm gonna get her washed. Okay.
Yes.
So I noticed that you parted her hair in the front of her hair instead of the back.
Mm-hmm.
Is it because her hair is less dense on the profile?
So what I'm thinking about is really her hairline, thanks for asking, and her head shape. To me, the front kind of is about where her hairline kind of starts in that back. If I were to bring too much of this corner right here into those front layers, it's going to change the shape completely. And I really want to keep that corner, and I would just lose it. So it would continue to be more round. Does that make sense?
Also, her last haircut was a hairball. So that the first hairball, which is like over a year ago.
Oh, yeah. So it's been a year since she had her last haircut, a hairball.
It
And
looks
was
good.
it a?
Yeah, it grew out really well. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, the first 2 years ago.
No, it's a year ago.
Anyways, let's get you washed. Come on over. Thank you.
Yep. Yeah, I can.
Cool. I'm gonna grab. Oh.
Kate, you mentioned that you tend to do this long layer a lot on your clients.
Yes, I do. You know what?
How do you adjust it for each person?
Thank you for asking. Well, number one, it was one of the biggest things that happened to me when I started working from Bumble after Sassoon for so long. This haircut kind of like changed my life. I remember I was taking so much time with these long layers, and really there's just these 3 sections or whatever it is, and really thinking about that client's head shape and growth patterns. It's so beautiful. I adjust it for them, you know, where I need to take out the weight or where I don't. And it's nice to rely on such a technique that it's always kind of so beautiful for each person. I might change the lengths, you know, if I'm doing more of a shag, I'll go shorter in the crown, things like that.
Cool. Yeah. I feel like I'm the same way too. It's like when I learned to get past that kind of Sassoon 1/4 inch sections, like repetition, you know.
Pivoting.
It was taking so much time.
So many things.
You know. But what you talked about is just being smart about where you are on the head.
Absolutely.
Right?
And you don't always need to cut, you know. There might be sections where you're not cutting hair off. Or you might even only need to do the crown or the bang, and that was a good takeaway for me as well.
Yeah.
I will say, though, surprisingly, in LA, I don't have as many long layers. I was surprised about that.
Yeah, you would think that LA, it's all long hair.
Right? But no.
Your Instagram displays a lot of variation and like cool haircuts.
Oh.
Like people find you for that, like, you know,
Yep.
probably.
That good old
You're
Insta.
too, but you have like a variety of, I was just looking at it this morning.
Instagram.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it's bringing you all the variety of, you know, fun haircuts.
It's been great. I mean, I just feel like I'm cutting like short, like above the shoulder all day variations. It's great.
I love that Instagram can be used in that way as almost like your PR, you know, if the stuff you put out there attracts the clientele that you get.
Out there forever.
Yeah.
It's, what is my Instagram? Lost Hills LA is the salon one. Yes. Any other questions while she's getting washed? Go. Yes.
I wasn't in the room when you were talking about like the length. You're gonna take like the perimeter, like
To where
and
I'm
the
taking.
bang. I missed that area. I got all
Oh.
the layers, but
All right, cool. So yeah, her bang's gonna sit somewhere around her like cheekbone, you know? I'm just gonna be thinking about my weight removal really, because she doesn't really want a bang. But I am gonna strengthen it and soften it all at once. And then her length, I'm just gonna cut the bottom off where it looks dry, you know? Just clean it up. It's the length I'm not thinking about as much. Somewhere around there. Oh yeah, that's great, thank you. Don't spray my eyeballs. So I'm also really going to be setting up my hair, not only my haircut, but my end result from the shampoo bowl. Thinking about even my combing is going to be helping my blow dry, right? So I'm keeping that nice tension in her hair. I really want to smooth every section out. And I'm also going to be reading her hair, going a little bit more in depth on her hairlines, her head shape. So there is a lot going through my mind just at this point. Seeing how her textures change from dry to wet. Oh no, I'm good. Just a little tingly. Thinking about how her density is changing from the sides to the crown. I'm looking at all of her little squiggles and hairlines and how the hair is changing through the head and here, because that's going to change my weight removal and my stroke as I start cutting. For me too, with the long layer, I have to really slow down because I feel like this haircut can also be so fast. Because it works every time, like I really can trust the technique.
You still take clients at level in New York, right?
I quit actually. I had my last day in July. Yes, but I will still be going to New York. I just needed a little break. I was going every month for 5 years. I was tired. Thank you.
How long do you book your clients for? Like, what were your appointments in New York?
In New York, I worked on the half hour with bang trims in between. Would you want to speak to that? Just kidding. I can be very fast. And also, I worked at that salon for so long, and my clients I'd been cutting forever, and I knew their hair so well.
Yeah.
In LA, I take an hour with each client. It's just a different environment, and I'm still getting to know everyone. And it's been nice to slow down.
That cake cuts so fast and it's so good. And I realized that you were so intentional with every haircut and smooth. So I learned that smooth is fast. So just taking the time and really just intentionally doing it.
Because to me, like the cutting moments are really quick. I mean, you have to really think about, like, your consultation is where you take the length, and also combing her hair out and reading her hair. And being deliberate, and also relying on all the education I had, you know.
Yes, question.
It's more to do about styling. So I've noticed a lot of like freer, kind of more organic styling here. And over in North Carolina, if you don't pull out a round brush, people have like a serious issue with it. It's like, you're not styling my hair right. if it's not like, yeah, close to God. So is there a way to like kind of, I'm trying to figure out the best way to kind of transition more into that like how do we break our clients and then like kind of saying, no, this looks better than this, like,
you know, I feel like I'm styling as I cut. And so as the haircut's coming alive, the client can see that. And I, of course, have used brown brushes and tools and everything for that moment, but they see that I don't need to. I can just take it out and quickly show them a few techniques, and that also gives me more time for that. And I feel like they trust it and they see it as it's going. So I'm not using I mean, of course, we clip sometimes, tons of clips in their hair. So by the end, after your haircut, it's just, they don't see the transition happen. Right. You know, I'm starting in the front and I'm thinking about the way I'm combing her hair so it can set as the haircut is starting to air dry. And I think that kind of really changed a lot for my clients. What do you think?
Yeah, it's like you're training your clients to experience the haircut and finish in a new way. Right? If their hair is always clipped up and it's sopping wet, of course you have to dry that hair, right? But if you let the hair dry with product in it, kind of embrace the natural texture, work the natural haircut and the texture as you're working through it, really taming it as you're working it and letting it almost like air dry on its own, you're really doing your client more of a service because you're teaching them how to take care of their hair.
Absolutely.
By you showing them how to take care of their hair. You're always pulling out that round brush from sopping wet. You're never really teaching your client how to embrace their natural texture. And having said that, when I hand style, I still take time. I still will elevate with my fingers. I still use my fingers to smooth out the crown. I also change my heat settings to get volume, to heat, to cool off, to set. So I still am coaxing that hair, but I'm doing it in a way that the end result is not always that one finished result. And it also, you're gonna know which clients are gonna let you do that and which clients are like, you know, they want their hair blown out every time. They just love that service. But it's introducing it slowly with those people that are gonna let you do it. And it's like how we're finishing here. It's like we're using product during the service. Product is not just an afterthought, it's a tool.
Absolutely.
It's a tool to help us get us someplace. So at the end, it's smooth for us. There's lift built into the haircut as you're going through it.
I think sometimes, like Kate was saying, she'll do a couple tweaks after the hair is dried and the client's happy with it. Just to show them how to take it further. And what I like to do a lot is I don't wet the hair the whole time so that at the end they can see what their haircut does, just the haircut is performing. Right. And then I'll break out my round brush and give them that bombshell blow dry. Right. So they get to see both, you know. So I think, you know, I love doing that blow dry, but my goal is to show them the versatility and how they can go without styling for those days that they don't want to.
Yeah, because how many times have clients said, I left the salon, it was amazing, and then I went home and they couldn't see the shape. So this way too, you know that they're gonna.
Or you see your client outside, you're like, that's my haircut? What's going on with it? Did I really do that? It looks so bad.
I my dress.
Yeah, I didn't show my client how to do their hair. I didn't say, let's set your bangs with some product. Let's give you a little bit of volume easily and let your hair air dry in a way that actually works well.
So I just found my bang section and I really let her recessions and her head shape find it for me. And then I went through and just made it clean. Being conscious of combing. So her hair's already beginning to give it a shine. And I'm gonna turn her so you can see my elevation.
You see how much prep there is into going into before she even picks up the tool? That's how the tool can happen so fast, because there's all this prep going into making that happen.
So as I'm combing everything forward and I'm looking, I'm seeing what's dropping out as well naturally. And these are such strong little growth patterns here. letting those away. I'm gonna think about where I'm gonna cut, where I want it to land on her face. When she styles it, I kind of want them to be able to be like kind of short and cheek bangy, but they'll probably sit still pretty long. Like I'm gonna be removing kind of more just of this. So I'm thinking about that, bringing my elevation up, kind of thinking about, and then I'll cut from there. Releasing that weight in the center and then moving forward.
I guess by combing the right section forward, you see that there's a lot to do in that section. When the client's like, I don't really want nothing changed, right? It's like, well, let me get into it and let me look at it and let me help you decide.
Sorry, I'm gonna lower the chair. I'm gonna straddle her a little bit. I think that your body position is so important.
Oh, do you need me to
Oh.
move?
No, I was talking about, yes. Your body position is important too, sweetie, but. Cool. And I just want to be aware that this section, although it looks quite large, what I'm thinking about is what's happening in my fingers. So don't get too concerned about how much hair you're seeing here. Think about what you're holding here. Because most of the time, their haircut's been thinned out, it's been razored, and there might be like 4 hairs down here, and you're of half the head. I'm gonna split it in half, just for balance and control. I'm gonna start with just a few small strokes, and then I'm gonna change into more of a stronger stroke at the bottom. So I'm here, and then I'm gonna go really tight.
See that?
So you can kind of see. I'm just gonna take more, in that center. The whole time I'm keeping my section straight out of the head, because that way, when it drops natural, you're gonna have that perfect face shape. Cool, so that was the tip side. And I'm actually gonna just tuck her neck down a little bit so that I can get my razor in a little bit better. Start releasing that weight. And then work down to really tiny sections.
It's a good view, right? Yeah.
I'm trying to slow. I'm gonna release a little bit more weight in here. This side to me felt softer even to begin with. So I'm just gonna go back and do that now. I'm using the flat of my blade just slightly where I need to.
What is that giving you?
It's giving me softness, and it almost like slightly graduates the hair so it can really nicely push away. And now I'm going to elevate because I'm thinking about styling her at the end. And I want the roots to be away from the scalp. After all of that combing, and then I check.
I love that.
So she has those little bits in that front. They're soft. Getting through there. Cool. To me right now, the corners are still a bit heavy, but remember how fine some of these sections are. I'm gonna take my weight out at the end as more of my signature. So as I'm moving my section, again, I'm thinking about styling her later. Hair moves.
Those are
I like
hair
that.
moves? Hair moves.
Oh, I only thought I had night moves. I like that. Cool. So as I split the hair here, again, I'm looking at what's happening down here as well as her hairline. To me, I may even take a little bit less. How do you not get bored during long layers? Are you bored during long layers, or do you enjoy it? Yeah? Yes.
I take classes. That's how I
Cool,
don't
I love
get
that. Yeah, that's a great answer.
Anybody else? Do not get bored.
I've learned a lot from the Bangs and Bits class. So it's awesome because you can always customize something with their bang and their bit. And so even when you feel like you're doing long layers all day, it's like each person that comes in, it's going to be suitable to them because you're going to be doing something different for them. So that's how, like, little things like that, I keep myself from
I
getting
love
bored.
that. Do you all do bang trims for your clients? And are they kind of like mini haircuts? It's my favorite thing. I love it. Sometimes I'm like, I give too many of those, you know? Well, oh, yes.
It's important to charge for bang trims, especially for us here, because we're known for bangs. So we're doing bang trims all day, sometimes 9. And so I can't be spending all that time for free, right? It's not fair to me. And also, I'm going to cut your bangs real good. So
real good.
Real nice and pretty. So I charge for it, and I usually charge 20. But the more elaborate bangs get, especially bangs and bits, you can charge a little more. You know, like $30, $40, because it's, you know, it's like a haircut. It's like a mini haircut.
It really is. And you're extending their haircut for so long. And I think, like, I charge like 25 or whatever it is. And clients usually, you know, tip or whatever, so.
I charge for my bang trims. Oh, I mean, I don't charge. They're complimentary, just because our cuts are really expensive, and the value for them with the complimentary bang trim in between their service makes them feel not quite so bad about paying the $130 for their cut in San Francisco, which is hard for people. But that's just what I'm doing.
And also maybe like charging for a new client, but an existing haircut, you know?
A new
'Cause
client,
if a new
they
client
get
comes
charged,
in,
for sure.
Yeah.
It's case by case, right? It's like, you know, this one's like, oh yeah.
I actually charge case by case.
You do? Do you want to explain why?
It's hard not to. Yeah, I'll get it for you.
Only because I have a lot. Unfortunately, what had happened when I started doing a lot more complimentary is people would be like, "Can you just cut into this? And can you cut into this?" And then instead of just doing a bang, they wanted like a full fringe, like.
Yeah.
And
I love
that's
you.
even though it takes me like 15 minutes or so, it still can change your entire haircut. So, I actually it depends on what it is, but yeah, I tend to do it case by case because I know who's taking advantage of me.
Yeah. Right.
Basically, yeah.
And it's also our time, right? It's like
I think
the
most
time.
of the time people understand that too. Like if you're not just doing bangs, they're like, well, you did do more work, so maybe I should be charged for something. Yeah.
And what's happening down here? So she needs some strength. How many times do you have a client come in and it's just almost gone, those sides?
Yes.
Right? And you're like, how do I get it back? And the more you go in. So to me, this has changed everything. And I will subsection out where the hair falls. I'm going to be turning her head a lot. I'm going to be on this side, I'm going to use the tip of my razor. So I'm going to be standing a little bit more behind the chair, the corner. I really want to think about staying on the edge of my blade. I don't want to rough any of this up. So as clean as possible here, but at the same time keeping it soft. So to me, that means I'm going to start a bit higher and then work almost to nothing. So tiny strokes at the end. I'm not going to elevate because I actually don't want to create a ton of softness because she already has it. So yesterday we were elevating, today keeping it low. Just weight removal, and then my length and strength.
See that? Ooh.
And now I'm going to go through the center of it and break it up a little bit further and not take any length at that moment. I'm going to keep this section all in my fingers. If you need to, at the beginning, you can subsection it if it's helpful for you. But to me, I like to take it all in one, start my weight removal, and then really slow down
to put my length in.
So if you look at what she's cutting, she's only taking a little tiny bit of the length off, but more from the inside to keep it light, but still keep the weight there.
And here's this isn't my length of, I still have all of this hair I'm thinking about. So I want to preserve some of here. This section is really important. It's going to give it the shape that I want. And now I'm going to go back through in this front and just take that little tiny corner because it was bugging me. And then right away I'm going to move it around and see what I've got going on. I'm just going to take a diagonal section.
Yeah, question, Georgia.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, this is a pretty nerdy question,
I
but
like
when
it.
you're taking out the weight and the blade's angled, like, you know, we talk about going in at a 45, like there's no way that was a 45, like you were barely, like, you were just breathing on those sections, like, what would you say, like, that degree is if there were to be a degree?
My first answer is I failed like every math class, geometry, everything, numbers. I'm also dyslexic, so I don't think about the angle because to me it doesn't. I can't. I'm thinking about how the blade is touching the hair, and I'm and the feeling. So I'm changing my angle quite a bit, and sometimes it might be a little bit less of a turn or a 45 or. So it really depends on that moment. Does that make sense? What I'm thinking about is shortening my strokes. So I guess for me it's more about that stroke. So the broader and longer it is, the more weight you're taking out, the more softness you're creating. And then as I'm working to the bottom, I'm shortening it. And yes, I probably am moving slightly more down to cut my length. But if I went in here and worked too much this way, I would give her my favorite thing, which are the chops. So I'm thinking about that, remembering that I want to create a face frame angle. Does that make sense?
Totally does. Thank you.
Of course. As I was cutting her hair on these sides, these little front guys started to kind of talk to me a little bit. And so I'm just going to tweak these sides here because since we are keeping it longer, it might be nice just to have something soft underneath for when she puts her hair up. And it's hard for me not to give people that because it's life-changing.
Yeah.
Yes, totally.
They're like life-changing, right? To long hair.
Absolutely. So, of course, it will vary for what look you're doing. I've always had them really strong, and I take almost a section when you want it more dramatic, like
a
chunkier
bi-level or
section,
something,
I'm thinking about her hairline and moving it around since I want to keep it so soft. So I'm holding her hair through the ends with the tightness and then shaking it around and letting kind of what would live there naturally fall out. I'm sorry, I should turn it to the side. I'm also really considering the fact that I want it to look super natural. So I don't want my line to be too strong. I want it to be so soft. And I'm following her hairline. Cool. So kind of picking them out like that. I barely even section it. But to me, the biggest thing is the angle at which I'm standing, where my blade is, and whether I'm coming from the front or the back. Because I want to create something like very soft here. I find a lot of times people will only just come from the front, and then you have this big chunk that does nothing right above the ear. And I'm also using the flat of the blade. Is that clear? Cool. I'm going to stand on the other side for this too, because my body position is so important. And I'm going to flip her head a little bit so that this way I can have elevation. I'm just going to re-wet. Sorry, it drives so fast.
So I just put some little stuff in my fingers here, and I'm just gonna pinch on those bottoms. I definitely don't want to re-wet the root at all here. So I'm gonna start from underneath. I'm gonna get my blade going quite a bit using that flat. So I'm gonna tuck your chin. Cool. And I want to work from short. I'm being so gentle as I cut. I'm moving upwards, and then I'm going to stop. And then I'm going to do the same thing. Sorry. So it's very like pointy. Cool. I'm going to also twist here and then work down.
All the things.
Bring it in. And then kind of check out my length, but I usually don't really look at it too much. Is what I do is I tuck her hair right away so it can kind of start to set. And that's like the biggest thing, is setting those little guys. And it's like life-changing. It's perfectly around the ear here and so soft. And then I'll come back to it. And then I found this little straggler. I'm gonna use the flat of my blade here because I have control over it to make it super soft on those corners. Is that clear? So again, I'm gonna have some volume in her bangs. I'm even gonna tuck those. And then I'm gonna work on the other side. So this side can be a little trickier because it is the heel of the blade for some, but again, thinking about your body position would change it all. The other thing too, oh, that's perfect, yeah, thank you. I'm all trying to. It's sometimes it actually, for me, when I'm doing really delicate stuff around the face, it's hard to do it slow because the razor is so powerful, you can make such strong lines.
I also noticed that you're ribbing a lot before you're cutting. Does that give you more tension when you're?
I'm sorry, I didn't hear.
I noticed that you ribbon a lot. Does that give you more tension or less tension?
Yeah, so I think you're asking, like, I'm really combing the hair so much, it gives it my tension right away. So I'm not using my fingers like this here and then using my tension for the whole time in my fingers. At the same time, I can also see her growth patterns so much. And I want to keep this section as flat as possible so that the blade can easily move through the hair. Because if you have too much hair, it won't. You can take a big section, and the more you ribbon and keep that so flat, the blade will just slice through so softly. My sections will also vary from side to side, simply because no one's the same on either side. So going with that, I'm gonna get them bangs and that little corner out of my way. So I'm more in front of her right now. And this time I might subsection even more. So I can see really clearly where I need to release the weight and where I need to create it. Can you see that? And here I'm gonna pinch with my fingers. I'm gonna start my broad strokes, really lightly touching the hair, but I am still pretty much on that flat, and then working at very tiny ones on the bottom. Here I'm only gonna take weight, really. I'll move that hair around, and then I'm gonna find my section without overthinking it. And now I'm thinking about it. Right, cool. You know, it's actually a little denser through here. All right, cool. So I'm going to stay on this side because I'm going to use my heel. How's that angle for everybody? So again, starting with the heel of my blade, working towards my finger, and then going through the top. I need to just wet just those baby ends. Just being really gentle. Sorry. And keep them soft. And again, right away I put them behind the ear because they don't really give it to you until you see them. Does that make sense? Cool. I'm going to check this corner here. Same thing. Than before, and pinch off that guy that's bugging me. Since I'm kind of almost done, I just want to add some product, and I'm just going to use a little surf I'm putting in my hands, and then moving it into her roots. Because I didn't want too much product, and sometimes the way that product comes out, it just like shoots out, and I wanted to be more in control of it. And the other reason too is that I'm working with my fingers and my hands to style. So I think that's been really a great thing for my clients, showing them how to use their fingertips and their paws to move their hair around. You get so much volume right away, and it feels so good for them while you're doing it. And that's an easy way for your clients not to put too much product in their hair. So how is it looking from out there so far? So I'm going to be going into the layering where I'm going to have the most density. So I'll start with that central section. The meat of my hair is here. So remember, I'm going to start out with a little bit of a shorter stroke where I need to create strength. And then I'm going to be dropping my razor down right here at the crown where I want volume, and then bringing it back up. So it's very intentional. And I'm, as you heard, I like to be efficient as well. I'm just going to put the chair down a little bit. So how was everybody feeling yesterday with the upward stroke? Was it tricky, or did it feel good? The ones that did it. Tricky.
It's
yes,
tricky.
This is a hard one.
It's a fine line.
I will say, when I first learned it, my teacher made me do a lot of men's cutting with it, and I found that it helps so much learning how to control my tension, because this part is such a hard bit to keep your tension tight, and then you have this razor in your hand. To me, the other trick is how you open your blade. So I'm really keeping the blade behind my pinky here with the metal portion up. So when I flip it back, I can simply just use my thumb and my forefinger to open it, and then lift everything back, because I see so much fumbling at this point. I also ripped my dress, so excuse my armpits. Uber.
Those are beautiful.
Okay, cool. So shorter strokes, dipping down where I see weight. I dropped out that section because I lost the tension. So here you go. So shorter right there where that tiny bit is, and then working down and then up into my fingers.
So really customizing it for the section. Isn't that brilliant?
And then here,
Are you thinking about how much you're dropping out, not cutting?
I'm not, because I know that my over direction is going to take care of that. I'm not going to be cutting any length off or anything right now. If I had my hands a little bit lower, I was changing my angle, I would be thinking about that a bit more. But as for now, I am thinking, though, about my over direction, and I kind of want to keep it pretty clear to the center of her head, or even sometimes I go slightly past. I'm also letting those hairs that I just cut drop out, but I'm feeling where they are as a reference, and then I'm moving my fingers beyond them, keeping that hand really nice and flat and open. And I'm shortening my stroke right there.
And where you placed your comb is important.
So important, that thing. I mean, I feel like even when you're cutting your length, I see it, you get in the way so much. So be aware of those tiny things, and it will make you more efficient, and everything will be so clear. And like I said, there won't be much coming off on these little guys because I already took care of them. Okay, just look at it. I'm gonna let that drop out because remember, I will be taking weight from here. Yeah, exactly. And even if her hair were to be more dense, it could also only be 2 sections. It's about the control of that blade, and as you use your stroke to release the weight. That's why I love these layers. So easy. Well, don't tell anybody how easy this is. So I'm here. I'm just gonna show you that. So you can see the over direction. Again, like I was saying in that her hairline here, I also see it here. It's a bit more dense. So I'm staying on my same side. I'm going to release a little bit more weight right there because I need to. And then dropping down and then back up. Oh, cute. Thanks. I'm making sure I'm leaving those front guys out. And then again, I'm just combing everything up. And right now I'm thinking about styling her hair because I'm almost done. My next client's right there. So this is also giving me that nice elevation. And I want to keep the hair in my hands really smooth. So I always think about combing, making a ponytail. And that helped me so much to not fumble and to keep the strength in my hand and keep the hair so smooth. Again, a little bit more weight here than the other side. Dipping down and back up.
I have to say, when I learned this, taking a deep breath. I tend to feel like I'm like T-Rex, you know, like
T-Rex.
very tight.
Mm-hmm.
And when I learned it, just like taking a deep breath with the stroke just like really helped relax me and feel a little bit more like of that flow with my hand, and then like tightening up.
Absolutely. That's such a good point for so many things in our job too. I forget to breathe all the time, and I'm like, oh yeah, breathe. And they don't know, have any idea, especially demos. Oh my God, yeah, on a live stream. And
he'd like to know more about how to hold the razor upward.
Okay, yes, thanks. I'll go through that. How do I have enough time, right? Because I'm pretty much almost done. Cool. So when I'm opening my blade, just even in the beginning, I'm really being in control of this metal portion. So I'm pinching with my finger, my thumb on my first finger there. So I'm here working down, right? All I really want to do is take my elbow and point it up into the air, and my wrist up. So you're almost like looking at your watch, if you still don't know what those are. Right? And I remember Nikki Ann taught me about my rhythm. It's almost like circle eighths or whatever, like an infinity eighths sign, rather than too much up and down, so that I'm using my wrist. Like a wave, yeah, wave. The other thing too is my razor in my hand is really light. I'm thinking about my tension in here. So I'm there, and then I have these fingers. It's really no different here, except for you really have to point those guys up. And to me, that is key when you have the hair in the hand and opening your razor and being right there. Because more than anything, I see this. Here, it's closed, and then, all right. And then you mess it all up. So that little trick, here, you flip to do an open. Keep on. And most of the, throwing it at you. A lot of times through the layers, I don't close my razor that much, except for, sometimes I do.
Major combing areas, yeah.
Yeah.
You're driving through the different towns.
To me, having it in my hand like this, when I do need to close it to see it, it just doesn't even matter. It's still almost like opened, So I think that's important, those little baby things. It's kind of like when they told me I had to practice scissor over comb at a corner or whatever. Like really take your razor home, take the blade out, hold it while you're like watching TV or whatever you do, because it's that muscle memory. All right, so I'm just gonna take the weight out from under the crown. So I'm even less. I'm using that as my mirror a little bit. So how often too do you see the top layers and then just so dense underneath? I'm not sectioning with my comb because I want it to be a little bit more fluid. And I'm really thinking about the round of the head here, where you have, I cannot say the word O-bone or whatever, and where that's where the most density is. So again, picking it up. Oh, sorry. So you see my section is super messy. Those little things were hard for me in the beginning after those Sassoon years and letting it go.
Yeah.
Like it's okay and it's natural. And this I'm just going to be super intentional with. I'm keeping all those corners. I'm going to go in right here. And then I'm going to flip my wrist and just take this all out. So you really just open that up and it gives it volume to the top quick. So as I'm looking at her, and now do you understand what I mean about the length is just an afterthought? Like I could take those little guys off, but I really didn't take anything and it doesn't really matter. What matters right now to me is this chunk. It feels way too long. So I'm gonna elevate here and I'm gonna use my razor. I am using the flat slightly and I'm just gonna work both sides because I wanna create that really nice point on the end. And then at the very end, I'm gonna get more attention and then use the flat to clean it. I'm gonna put something called waterfall moisture in my hands because I'm, again, almost done and I'm really putting it all over my hands, especially on the back of my hand, so that when I go to grab the hair, I start always from underneath, like a ponytail. I'm thinking about how we want volume here and how I'm gonna start smoothing.
Those bits look so good
everything
with
out.
the bangs. And how you just kind of let them air and become what they are is so good.
And we still have some little ones by there. And at this point too, I'm showing my client how to style their hair into cute little updos really quickly. Taking like chopstick or something. But I'm also styling, I'm barely gonna, I thought I was gonna take more off on the length, but what do you, think out there? Yeah, I'm gonna do like what Kate does and I'm gonna just take my scissors and cut really blunt like a kid just on those ends. Because to me, that makes, I don't know, it gives it like, I'm trusting my elevation and myself.
You're feeling it.
And those ends, sometimes you just have to have like that. Cool, I'm gonna style her a little bit while you guys chat about something.
Wrap up.
Yeah.
So what happens next is we're going to be, is it a working lunch now, Karina? Yeah. Working lunch like yesterday. Models will come in. You'll go back to your same groups. You'll start to have a chat with your model, consult with them, figure out a plan, and then we'll do, with your individual instructor, go around and do your consultations.
Here, just one last question. It's from Autumn that says, I super appreciate this style of cutting in which we look for the hair to make statements about where it needs to go and how. Can you show what checking this cut would look like?
Right. Use your mirror and use your eyes. That is such a big thing. I have my clients stand up and sit down so much. So that's, and I'm also trusting, I'm not going back and cross-checking. And the other thing I do is I always bring everything up like a top pony and just see if I have anything that needs to be cut off. So one, I'm checking it visually. Does that answer your question?
Yeah.
One last thing I want to say is what I've changed a lot of my clients and my life is those Velcro rollers that are just clear. And at this point, I always just teach them how to put one here and in the bang, and then they don't have to do anything. And I got that from Sarah Sloan, and it's just been the best. I'm always driving around in one, and they're like 99 cents. So, cool. I'm gonna
the kind of triangle that you put at the bottom last, like under the top layer.
I'm sorry. Repeat the question.
The
Yes.
triangle that you put in the very bottom, like under the top layer, are you using that as a technique to connect the bottom with the top layer? Does that make sense?
Yes, it makes sense. So you're kind of asking, am I connecting the top and the bottom through that triangle? I mean, yes and no. I'm making them relate to each other. What I'm thinking about mostly is elevation in the crown and having less weight here so that you really get that beautiful head shape, because it sets this in and it pushes this top up. So by opening that up here, you know, where that beautiful part is. So it is, in a sense, connecting it, but it's giving you head shape more than anything. Yeah.
So it's almost like the place that your layers are sitting on underneath. You want to kind of flatten the underneath out, so it kind of gives it a collapsing underneath your layers. So you don't have to do so many more layers to see that head shape. It's almost like in an invisible way to create head shape.
Sorry. And then I'm using my hands, I'm having a lot of tension and using my palms to really smooth as I finish up. Thank you. So I'm using my fingers to style. I know we're out of time, but I just. Just gonna pinch a few pieces off. That don't work. Cool. And so that's it. Yeah. Bye.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay.
I also am taking the cape off my client and putting it back on all the time because that really changes so much. Should it yeah. And then having them stand up. Ooh. Nicholas, can you show her in the camera so they can all see her home or whatever? See her. So amazing. Oops.
And I've learned that through like photo taking, it's like because the photo reads everything as flat, if you don't bring the hair into the photograph, you get no haircut photos. None. Because the face is coming out, the hair has to come out. Cool.
Will you stand up for me? I'm just going to do one last look at you. Yes. Stand a little bit. Yes. No, you're fine. No, saw it up here. Oh, sorry.
All right, guys, so that's it for our demos for today. I want to thank you guys. Thank you so much for being here. And also I want to thank the live streamers for purchasing. And I hope you guys enjoyed. And you guys look amazing. I want to get photos of you. And then we have lunch. Is lunch here yet, guys? Okay, so lunch isn't here, but we could do we're just rolling with it, okay? What we could do is we can meet our models and kind of get everything set up. So if you guys want to get up and go to the other room, and then thank you to all the people who came for Look and Learn today. We will see you soon.